When a guy like CM Punk first showed up in WWE, you just knew things were going to be different. He didn't have the look of a typical superstar, that's for sure. He wasn't some chiseled from granite giant or a smiling, hand-shaking hero. He was covered in tattoos, each one telling a story he probably wouldn't share with you. He had this intense look in his eyes, like he was sizing everyone up and finding them lacking. When he walked down that aisle for the first time, fans didn't quite know what to make of him. Was he a good guy? A bad guy? The truth is, he was just CM Punk, and that was more than enough. You see, in a world of larger-than-life characters, Punk was real. He brought a style with him called straight edge, which was about not drinking, not smoking, and not doing drugs. For a lot of folks in the audience, that was a new concept to see in a wrestling ring. It wasn't a gimmick, it was his life. This authenticity connected with a certain part of the crowd right away. They saw a guy who believed in every single word he said and every move he made. He wasn't playing a character, he was being himself, turned up to the highest volume. That kind of honesty is rare and people can feel it. His in-ring style was a mix of everything. He could grapple, he could strike, and he had this finisher, the go-to-sleep or GTS, that looked like it could knock anyone out for a week. He wasn't the biggest dog in the fight, but he was often the smartest and toughest. Fans started to notice that this guy, this tattooed rebel from Chicago, could really go. He wasn't just talking a big game, he was backing it up every single time the bell rang. The more he fought, the more people started to believe in him, and that belief began to grow into a movement that would change the business forever. The initial reaction was a slow burn, not an explosion. Some people booed him, some cheered, but everyone watched him. He had this magnetic quality, this undeniable charisma that made you pay attention. You wanted to hear what he had to say because you knew it would be unfiltered and true. He wasn't there to make friends or to sell you a t-shirt you didn't want. He was there to prove he was the best in the world, and he didn't care whose feelings he had to hurt to do it. That attitude, that rebellious spirit, was the foundation of everything that was to come. There are moments in this business that change everything, moments that you remember exactly where you were when you saw them. For CM Punk, that moment was the Pipebomb. Sitting cross-legged on the entrance ramp in Las Vegas, he didn't just break the fourth wall, he blew it to smithereens. He talked about the company, the fans, and the guys in the back with a raw honesty that had never been seen on WWE television. He said what so many people were thinking but were too afraid to say out loud. He wasn't just a wrestler cutting a promo anymore. He was a revolutionary starting a rebellion, and he lit a fire that night. That speech made him the voice of the voiceless. He became a hero to every fan who felt overlooked, to every wrestler who felt held back by the corporate machine. He was speaking for them, and they loved him for it. His popularity exploded overnight. Suddenly, his merchandise was flying off the shelves, and his name was being chanted in arenas all over the world, sometimes even during matches he wasn't in. He had tapped into a feeling of frustration and turned it into his greatest weapon. He proved that the most powerful thing in wrestling isn't a finishing move, it's a connection with the people. This new fame led to some of the biggest matches of his career. His battles over the WWE Championship became legendary. He held that title for 434 days, a reign that was unheard of in the modern era. During that time, he defended it against everyone who stepped up, from John Cena to Daniel Bryan to Chris Jericho. Each match was a classic, a story told in the ring by a master storyteller. He wasn't just a champion, he was the champion, the man who carried the company on his back and proved that you didn't need to fit the mold to be the best. His promos were just as important as his matches. When Punk had a microphone, it was must-see TV. He was sharp, witty, and brutally honest. He could make you laugh 1 minute and make you hate him the next. He wasn't afraid to get personal, to dig deep and blur the lines between what was real and what was part of the show. He was a master of psychological warfare, getting into his opponents' heads before they even stepped through the ropes. This combination of in-ring skill and promo ability made him a complete package, a once-in-a-generation talent. Even the brightest fires can burn out. For CM Punk, the grind of being at the top started to take its toll. He was wrestling hurt, he was mentally exhausted, and he felt like he wasn't getting the respect he deserved for his contributions. Being the best in the world is a heavy burden to carry, especially when you feel like the system you're working for is working against you. He had fought so hard to get to the main event of WrestleMania, and when he felt that opportunity was being denied, something inside him finally broke. He had given everything he had to this business, and it just wasn't enough. So, in early 2014, he did the unthinkable. He walked away. He didn't have a big farewell speech or a final match. One day he was there, and the next, he was gone. It sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. How could the voice of the voiceless just go silent? Fans were confused and heartbroken. For years they had chanted his name, hoping he would come back. His absence created a huge void in WWE. There was no one quite like him. No one who could fill the shoes of the anti-establishment hero he had become. During his time away, the legend of CM Punk only grew. Absence really does make the heart grow fonder, especially in wrestling. Every time WWE came to his hometown of Chicago, the chants of CM Punk were deafening. Fans never gave up hope. They remembered the pipe bombs, the classic matches, and the feeling he gave them. He had become a myth, a symbol of rebellion. He went on to try other things, like MMA and acting, but to the wrestling world, he was the one that got away, the champion who left on his own terms. The landscape of WWE changed while he was gone. A new generation of stars rose to the top, many of whom were inspired by Punk himself. Guys who didn't fit the traditional superstar mold were now getting opportunities, partly because Punk had kicked the door down for them, but still, something was missing. The energy, the danger, the unpredictability that he brought was gone. The fans missed their voice, their rebel. They just had to wait and hope that one day they would hear that familiar static in the opening chords of Cult of Personality one more time. For nearly 10 years, it felt like an impossible dream. CM Punk in a WWE ring again? Most people thought it would never happen. Too much time had passed, and too many bridges had been burned. And then, at Survivor Series in November 2023, the impossible happened. At the end of the show, just when everyone thought it was over, the sound of static filled the arena in his hometown of Chicago. The opening riff of Cult of Personality hit, and the place absolutely erupted. It was one of the loudest crowd reactions I have ever heard in my entire life. And believe me, I've heard a few. The sight of him walking out onto that stage was surreal. He looked older, wiser, but that same fire was still in his eyes. The fans were crying, they were screaming, they were hugging each other. It was pure, raw emotion. After all those years of chanting his name, their hero was finally home. He didn't have to say a word. He just soaked it all in, a huge smile on his face. It was a moment that transcended wrestling. It was about hope, forgiveness, and the idea that you can always come home again. The prodigal son had returned. His return immediately changed everything in WWE. The buzz was incredible. Everyone was talking about it, from die-hard fans to people who hadn't watched wrestling in years. What would he do? Who would he face? The possibilities were endless. His presence brought a new level of excitement and unpredictability to the shows. Suddenly, every segment felt more important because you never knew when CM Punk might show up. He was the biggest star in the world again, just like that. It was as if he had never left, but the impact was even bigger this time around. In his first promo back, he explained that he had returned to finish his story. He wasn't the same angry young man who had left. He was different, but he was still CM Punk. He was there for the fans who had never stopped believing in him. He made it clear that he was aiming for the one thing that had always eluded him, the main event of WrestleMania. The road back wasn't going to be easy, but he was ready for the fight. The return was complete, but the journey was just beginning, and everyone was buckled in for the ride. Every great comeback story needs a great villain, and for CM Punk, that villain was Drew McIntyre. The rivalry between these two guys became one of the most personal and intense feuds we've seen in a long, long time. It all started at the 2024 Royal Rumble. Punk was on a roll, looking like he might just punch his ticket to the main event of WrestleMania. He was one of the final two competitors in the match, a testament to his endurance and will to win after being away for so long. The dream was right there, within his grasp, and the entire world was watching. But, a dream can turn into a nightmare in a split second. During the match, Drew McIntyre hit Punk with a move, a future shock DDT that caused a serious injury. Punk tore his triceps, a devastating blow that would require surgery and put him on the shelf for months. Just like that, his WrestleMania dream was shattered. It was a heartbreaking moment for him and for all the fans who were so excited to see him back. The look of pain and disappointment on his face told the whole story. He had come back to finish his story, and now it seemed like it was over before it even really began. Instead of showing any remorse, Drew McIntyre celebrated Punk's injury. He mocked him, he made t-shirts about it, and he even said he prayed for it. This made the feud deeply personal. Drew blamed Punk for costing him a moment years ago, and he saw this as payback. He took Punk's dream and made it his own, winning the Elimination Chamber to earn a World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania. While Punk was at home recovering, McIntyre was on top of the world, rubbing salt in the wound every chance he got. This wasn't about a championship anymore. It was about pure hatred. Punk, however, refused to just sit on the sidelines. Even though he couldn't wrestle, he wasn't going to let McIntyre get away with it. He started showing up on Raw, his arm in a sling, and tormenting Drew with words. He promised that even if he couldn't compete at WrestleMania, he would make sure that Drew's life was a living hell. This set the stage for a long and bitter war between the two. Punk's injury didn't end the story. It just added a new, painful chapter and created a rivalry built on a shattered dream and a thirst for revenge. CM Punk is a man who plays the long game. He promised to ruin Drew McIntyre's life, and he picked the perfect time and place to start Clash at the Castle, right in Drew's home country of Scotland. McIntyre had finally captured the World Heavyweight Championship, enjoying his big moment in front of his own people, facing Damian Priest. The crowd was just going wild for their hometown hero. It really seemed like nothing could go wrong for Drew. But, he forgot one thing. CM Punk always has a plan. There was no way Punk was going to let Drew have his happy ending, not after what happened at the Rumble. Just when it looked like Drew was about to win the match, a new referee ran down to the ring. But it wasn't just any referee, it was CM Punk, disguised in a referee shirt. He got into position to count the pin, stopped at 2, and then delivered a low blow to Drew. The crowd was just in shock. Their hero had been betrayed. This gave Damian Priest the chance to recover and pin McIntyre to retain the championship. Punk didn't just cost Drew the title, he did it in the most humiliating way possible, right there in front of his friends, his family, and his entire country. It was honestly a masterclass in psychological warfare. The feud only escalated from there. A few days later on SmackDown, Punk was having this really emotional in-ring reunion with his old friend and mentor, Paul Heyman. It was a powerful moment, but it was cut short. Drew McIntyre ambushed Punk backstage, brutally attacking him and leaving him in a heap. But Drew didn't just attack him. He stole something deeply personal from Punk. It was a bracelet engraved with the names of his wife, AJ Lee, and his dog, Larry. This wasn't about a title anymore. This was about family. Drew had crossed a line that you just don't cross. The theft of the bracelet became the new focal point of their hatred. Punk was furious. That bracelet was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of his life outside the ring, the things that truly mattered to him. McIntyre paraded around with the bracelet, taunting Punk and wearing it as a trophy. He was trying to break Punk down, not just physically, but emotionally. This whole series of events, from the screwjob in Scotland to the stolen keepsake, pushed their rivalry to a boiling point. There was only one way this could end, in a place where there are no rules and no escape. When a rivalry gets this personal, this full of animosity, there's only one place to settle it: Hell in a Cell. At the Bad Blood event in October 2024, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre were finally locked inside that unforgiving structure to end their feud once and for all. This wasn't just a wrestling match, it was a war. For Punk, it was about payback for his injury, the months of humiliation, and the theft of his family bracelet. For Drew, it was about putting Punk down for good and proving his dominance. The tension in the arena was electric before the bell even rang. The match was every bit as brutal and violent as fans had anticipated. Both men used every weapon at their disposal: chairs, kendo sticks, steel steps, and the cell itself. They battered each other from one side of the cage to the other. There were no fancy moves, just raw, unfiltered aggression. Punk fought with the desperation of a man seeking redemption, while Drew fought with the confidence of someone who thought he couldn't lose. You could feel the hatred in every punch and every slam. It was hard to watch at times, but impossible to turn away. The turning point came in a moment that was both poetic and savage. Punk finally managed to reclaim his bracelet from Drew. But instead of putting it back on, he hesitated, the weight of the moment clear. He broke the bracelet apart, the beads scattering in his hand. In a shocking act of vengeance, Punk forced the beads into Drew's mouth, making him choke on his own disrespect. It was a brutal symbol, Punk taking back what was his and making Drew pay for his arrogance. The crowd was stunned. It was a moment that would be talked about for years. With Drew reeling, Punk seized his chance. He hoisted Drew onto his shoulders and delivered a thunderous "go to sleep." The referee counted 1, 2, 3. CM Punk had won inside Hell in a Cell. He had endured the pain, the mockery, and the personal attacks, and emerged victorious. Punk stood tall inside the cell, battered but triumphant. He had finally gotten his vengeance, or so it seemed. But the war wasn't over. The very next night on Raw, as Punk celebrated his hard-fought victory, Drew McIntyre ambushed him from behind. Drew unleashed a vicious assault, beating Punk down in front of the world. He snatched the bracelet from Punk's hand, and in a shocking reversal, broke it apart right in front of him. Then, Drew forced the beads down Punk's throat, making him swallow the humiliation and pain he thought he'd left behind. The tables had turned. Punk's victory inside Hell in a Cell was now overshadowed by Drew's ruthless act on Raw. The fans were left in shock, realizing this rivalry was far from over. With the brutal war against Drew McIntyre behind him, CM Punk's journey took another unexpected turn. He started crossing paths with figures from his past, reminding everyone of the deep history he has in WWE. One of the most significant moments was his reunion with Paul Heyman. For those who don't know, Punk and Heyman have a complicated history. Heyman was his advocate during his legendary championship reign, but they also had a bitter falling out. Seeing them in the ring together again in Chicago was just electric. You could see the genuine emotion on both of their faces. It was a reminder that in this business, bonds can be broken, but they are never truly forgotten. That reunion was interrupted by the bloodline, which led to a whole new set of problems and possibilities, but the connection with Heyman would prove to be crucial. Later in the year, leading up to Survivor Series, Roman Reigns was putting together a team for the big War Games match. He was assembling what he called the OG Bloodline, a group of guys he had a real history with, including the Usos and Sami Zayn. When Seth Rollins, a member of their team, went down with an injury, they needed a replacement. They needed someone they could trust, someone with a history with their wise man, Paul Heyman. In a move that seriously shocked everyone, CM Punk was revealed as the final member of Roman Reigns' team. His reason was simple: loyalty to Paul Heyman. This was a mind-blowing development. For years, fans had dreamed of a feud between CM Punk and Roman Reigns, two of the biggest stars of their respective eras. Now, they were standing on the same side, united by a common enemy and their connection to Heyman. It was a perfect example of how, in WWE, today's enemy can be tomorrow's ally. The thought of Punk and Reigns fighting together inside the two rings of War Games was incredible. This alliance also planted the seeds for future conflicts. While they were partners for one night, the tension between Punk and Reigns was obvious. Two top dogs can't share the same yard for long. The way they looked at each other, the things they said, it all hinted at an eventual collision. Teaming up for War Games was a temporary truce, a business arrangement. It left fans wondering what would happen after the battle was over. Would the alliance hold? Or was it just a matter of time before these two titans finally went to war with each other? As we stand here today on November 19th, 2025, the future for CM Punk is a wide-open book with so many exciting chapters yet to be written. After a year of intense rivalries and emotional returns, he is once again at the center of the WWE universe. And one thing is certain. As long as CM Punk is in WWE, you can't take your eyes off the screen. He is still the best in the world, and his journey is far from over. The most exciting part is that we all get to watch it unfold. Thanks for joining us on CM Punk's WWE journey. If you enjoyed the ride, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.